Hi, Mel from Wildly Curious here. Today I'm going to show you how to make a whisk from a Christmas tree. If you haven't already watched my knife safety video, that would be a good one to watch first before you attempt to make one of these. Here's what you need: a sharp knife, a pair of secateurs and some string. I'm actually using dental floss here because it's very thin and it grips onto itself well because it's usually waxed. You're also going to need one of these. The good news is you only need the top bit. So cut your Christmas tree about here, leaving these branches and the top part intact. The first thing I'm going to do is to remove all the needles. This is a fir. You could easily use a spruce for this as well. This one's quite dry, it's been around all Christmas and the needles are starting to come off quite easily. The best way to remove them is to use the back of the knife and just encourage them to fall off. Once you've got rid of the bark and the needles from each of these branches, the next thing to do is start to remove it from the stem and this bit here as well. This is where it gets a little bit fiddly. Take your time, make it nice and neat. Once you've taken off all the bark and shaped the handle, I've even put a little point on the end there, you don't have to, that's personal preference. You might notice that I haven't taken the bark off from the very ends, they were getting very thin, but that doesn't matter because we'll probably snip those off once it's finished. Okay, for the next part I'm going to need to enlist the help of someone to hold down these parts of the whisk while I tie. So here's my length of floss, probably about 1 metre there. I probably don't need quite that much, but that will help. I folded it in half. Just move your hands down a little bit. That's it. Okay, I'm going to pull it nice and tight, cross it over and keep wrapping it round. Pulling it in, wrapping it round. And giving myself 2 ends like this makes it a little bit easier to tie off when I've finished it. Okay, slide your hands down a bit. That's it. And then I'm going to just tie that off with a couple of knots. Put your finger on it for me. Thank you. Once more, just to make certain. Now once the wood has seasoned, you can actually take the string off, and generally these parts will stay in place, but that's just down to personal preference really, whether you decide to keep them on or not. You may well find that after doing this activity that your knife is incredibly sticky and gunky. The best way of cleaning it is to put it in some hot, slightly soapy water, just to soften this sap, and then dry it off. Use some wet and dry paper to just clean off the lumpy bits, and then give it a buff up with a leather strop. That should clean it all off. There we go. All ready for some bushcraft pancakes.